Hey, what's up guys? I'm Ben, welcome to the channel. I've been exploring Wisconsin's woods on my dual sport motorcycles for the last almost 10 years now. And I've got a lot of questions over the years about where I'm riding and how to find trails here in Wisconsin. So today I decided I would go over some of my favorites with you guys. Now keep in mind what I'm riding most of the time are street legal plated dual sport motorcycles, which gives me a few more options than some of you who might just have a strictly off-road motorcycle. But some of these spots will be open to both, as well as ATVs, UTVs, and in some cases even Jeeps. But either way, if you plan on riding any developed trails, you will need to register your bike with the DNR and get one of these stickers. So let's hit the trails. Like most of the places that we're going to talk about today, Syracuse Off-Road Park has sort of a tentative opening date, and that's heavily weather dependent. Most of the time they are the first trails to open in the area though, because they are a little bit farther south. The park is situated on over 700 private acres, and you'll pay anywhere from $10 to $20 to get in and ride the trails, but they do have a ridiculous amount of stuff to explore. They've got everything from the 4-acre sand bowl to the ATV, UTV trails here. You will also see plated and non-plated bikes on these trails. Some of the areas are open specifically to one type of vehicle or the other, but most of the trails that you're seeing here are just going to be open to everybody. There are a lot of sandy trails here, and if you get sick of that, you can always hit up the single track, which is of course only open to plated and unplated motorcycles. It's not as intense as some of the other trails that we'll look at later today, but it definitely is interesting since you are crossing trails quite often and have to deal with the rather pokey pine trees. Now, new this year, they've got the Supercross track, as they call it. There are definitely some rather large jumps here and some really fun turns to try to stick your foot down and break your ankle on. My dad and I definitely had a good time riding around on these, but we were not nearly as skilled as I think some of the jumps require. However, it was a great opportunity to get both tires off the ground. Next up is Knobby Ridge single track in the Clark County ATV trails. If you like sand, this is definitely a great place to be. The single track is a little bit hairy and kind of a little bit too much for the big bikes that we try to take on it. There are over 16 miles of single track here, however, only 7 of them are currently open. Now, there is usually a trail fee to get in and ride these trails, however, that has been suspended because of the dollars that we're putting into the OHM stickers. There's over 135 miles of ATV trails, which are also open to the plated dual sports. They're not anything too exciting, definitely worth riding, beautiful area, but kind of sandy and flat. Non-plated motorcycles are allowed on the single track, but not on that ATV trail. Once you get through the single track, you are greeted by a little bit of a tunnel to go through and sort of a mini motocross track with some fun turns and a couple places to get the tires off the ground. Definitely a fun place to hit up. There's a little camping area there that you can come and park at winter or summer, and in the winter the trails are open. However, we found out this year that if you go towards the end of the year, you end up doing a lot of trail clearing on your way, and the snowpack can vary anywhere from nothing to a foot or two of snow that you have to fight your way through. Not a place that I would recommend, or a time that I would recommend taking a KLR 650, but we definitely had a good time riding, or I guess fighting through the trails. Speaking of wintertime, I think a lot of people neglect the fact that we have thousands of miles of waterways that, as long as you're in a cold enough part of the state, free solid enough to get out and enjoy on a motorcycle. Of course, follow the DNR recommendations for the amount of ice thickness versus the amount of weight that you're going to be putting on it. Make sure you know your waterway, and you will probably need a set of studs. I used some grip studs last season. Definitely like these. They install super quick, and you can just pull them right back out of the tire at the end of the season. Now, the Thompson OHB Park is really a special little place. The park itself sits on about 500 acres and only has about 28 miles of ATVs and UTV trails, but the trails are open to motorcycles as well as Jeeps. And this is really just kind of a neat place because they have direct access to the Embarrass River, which is a trout stream. They've got camping with some sites directly along the stream. So it's a really neat place to bring the kids for the weekend. They are actually allowing kids on the trails on four-wheelers and motorcycles. Obviously, I would say be a little bit careful since they're also open to UTVs and Jeeps and that sort of thing. I would also say be extremely careful if you decide to head out on the single track. These are some of the most insane trails that I think I have ever seen. And while they're definitely not a place for beginners, they are a great place to hone your skills. Now, the ridiculous obstacles that you've been seeing here are all on the 8-mile track. They do also have a separate 2-mile track that's a little bit farther away from the main entrance of the park, but is an excellent place to check out as well. Now, the ATV trails are definitely worth checking out. However, I would recommend paying attention to the ratings for how difficult the trails are. They're really geared more towards Jeeps and UTVs and ATVs, so you are going to find some deep mud holes. Now, I've got all of Langlade County highlighted here because there are 4 different sections of ATV trails on the county land that are connected via ATV routes that run on gravel roads or maybe even a little bit of pavement. Each section is definitely worth checking out. Some are a little bit bigger than others, but honestly, one of my favorite parts of Langlade County is exploring the thousands and thousands of acres of county land that is open to any street legal machine. So that means you can take a Jeep on it, a truck, or a plated dual sport motorcycle. Now, you do have to be a little bit careful because this mud seems to somehow be some of the slipperiest stuff that we've encountered here in Wisconsin, and there are some sections here that do get a little bit chewed up by the logging equipment. However, there are so many cool sections of woods out here that are definitely worth getting in and exploring. Now, Harrison Hills ATV trails are really what got me started on riding dual sport motorcycles. I wanted something that I could ride on the road and enjoy on the way up to the trails because there are some beautiful roads on the way up there, but then I wanted to be able to ride right from those roads to the trails and just enjoy the absolutely beautiful scenery that they have up here. Now, keep in mind these trails are open to ATVs and UTVs. You definitely have to watch out for those, especially since these are not one-way trails. There are definitely some dangerous curves that you really got to keep an eye out for those other guys out here on the bigger machines. And also keep in mind that these are only open to plated dual sport motorcycles, no motocross bikes whatsoever. Now, this place was not named Harrison Hills by accident. There are so many trails that curve and twist and go up and down, and there are a lot of sections that they've got berms plowed up, mostly for the purpose of diverting any water running down the trail off of the trail, but they work awesome to get your tires off the ground. And I mean, this is just, it's got to be my favorite place. I've spent a lot of time looking for other places since this was kind of the original one that I started off on when I had a sport quad, but I just come back here year after year, and this is really, I guess I would say, the place that I would have to direct you to if you want the coolest experience. There are thousands and thousands of acres out here. I think almost 100,000 acres, and there's only about 50 miles of ATV trails. However, if you're on these on a motorcycle, you are going to be burnt out by the end of the day because they are just intense and absolutely awesome. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this video was helpful to you. If it was and you want to see more like it, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Get out, enjoy this beautiful world any chance you get. And hey, if you can't do that right now, there's more videos to check out in the meantime. Thanks for watching.